Our children, they cry. Give us back our children. Their children, their brothers, their husbands and fathers are just some of Algeria's disappeared, the unknown number of people who have vanished at the hands of the country's security services, civilian victims of the Algerian government's war against what it calls Islamic terrorists, who have been fighting to overthrow it since 1992. For months, these families have been staging public demonstrations to bring attention to their plight.
My son, it's been 4 years since he disappeared. The security, military security, took him away.
International human rights groups claim that up to 2,000 people are unaccounted for after being arrested by members of the security forces. Algerian human rights activists say the number is much higher. It is unclear why these ordinary people are targeted, but somehow the authorities believe they are linked to the Islamic extremists. No one knows where they are taken to or whether they are still living. Their loved ones want answers.
Give us back our children. Show them to us. Let us know where they are, if they're dead or alive.
The photographs they hold, testimony that these are not just faceless victims. Among the sea of snapshots, a child looking for his family. They killed my dad and brother, then took away my mother and my other brother. The government has responded by claiming that many of these missing people have simply left to join the Islamic armed groups. They say the atrocities committed by these groups should be the focus of attention. Over 50,000 civilians have been killed in grisly attacks by militant Islamists during the past 6 years.
We have problems, but the first one is a problem of terrorism. It's a problem of killing citizens by these awful armed groups. That's the first concern for human rights.
But the families of the disappeared believe the state bears responsibility. This man says that one night a year ago, soldiers woke him up, put a gun to his head and took away his son. He and his wife have just heard a rumor that his son has been killed in detention. She is overcome by grief, and he? I want justice to be done, not just for my son, but all of us. This is all we're asking for justice to be done. You can't just storm into people's homes in the middle of the night and take people away like that.
The families of the disappeared are hoping their continued protests will bring pressure on the Algerian authorities to investigate these cases, even though until now all efforts through the country's justice system have failed.
Some family members consult with a small group of lawyers who have been attempting to bring legal action against the authorities. This woman says her son, a doctor, disappeared after being in police custody for 22 days. These women were arrested by security forces together with their husbands. After almost a month in police detention, they were released, but there has been no word about the fate of their husbands. This man has been searching for his son, another doctor, taken away by police from the hospital where he worked. He has written to the Minister of Justice and even to Algeria's president, but has had no response. Lawyer Mustafa Bouchachi and his colleagues have compiled files on almost 2,000 such cases since 1992. He says they have witnesses who can identify security personnel, details about time and place. Yet not one case has been brought to court. He believes this is an indication that these disappearances are sanctioned at the highest level.
When it happens like that, when you do write to the authority, to the Justice Department about those facts, and they don't do anything, we realize that it's general policy of the government of Algeria since '92.
Bouchachi says he has received numerous death threats, but will continue his work. Some of his clients are also victims themselves. This woman says the day after her father was arrested in June, soldiers came for her and her sister. She claims they were detained and tortured for over a week.
They had a table on which they tortured us with electricity. They hit us, and they did all sorts of things I can't even describe.
Her father is still missing. Despite all these accusations, the Algerian authorities say claims of violations of human rights are being exaggerated and cannot be compared to the threat posed by Islamic militants.
It's not a policy of the state to use violation of human rights as a mean to maintain its power. It's just not true to say that. So my feeling is that there is no crisis of human rights. There is terrorism.
This is not a war against terrorists. When you have 100,000 of people arrested, executed by the security forces, it's not a way for a state of law to fight terrorists. It's one of the reasons, they're pushing for more violence in this country. And in the end, the victim of this violence, it's innocent people who got nothing to do with politics.
There seems to be no immediate end in sight to Algeria's spiral of violence. The attacks on civilians continue, and so do the disappearances. And while each new day of not knowing brings more pain for the victims' families, they will continue to demand answers and are not giving up. It's hope that keeps us going. Otherwise, we have no wish to go on. Bob Cohen, CNN, Algiers, Algeria.